Welcome to Founders Future, the podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Jay Encarnacion, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're thrilled to have Sudhir Singh, the founder of ProOrgs. Sudhir brings a wealth of experience from over 20 years in HR leadership. He's also a certified master professional coach who's helped hundreds of executives thrive. And through ProOrgs, he's revolutionizing how businesses align organizational culture with strategic goals. We'll explore his founding story, how ProOrgs empowers companies to succeed through culture and leadership, and his vision for scaling this mission driven venture. So let's dive right in. Sudhir, welcome to Founders Future.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So would love to start at the top for our listeners here, Sudhir. Can you take us back to the beginning? What specific problem in the organizational culture or HR landscape, perhaps around misalignment with business goals or leadership challenges, really inspired you to start ProOrgs?
Absolutely. So as you pointed out, I have been in HR leadership roles for last 20 years. And one of the challenges that I faced while I was working in those full-time roles was trying to align the executives on what kind of culture the organization needs to have. And that was always challenging because everybody came with their own perception of what organization culture means, right? Um, so I took a step back and tried to look at what the exact problem is. And I am an engineer by education. I started my career as an industrial engineer. So I typically try and get to the root cause of any problem. And when I looked at this issue, I realized that in 70 years of research that has happened around organization culture, there is no framework that has been established to define what organization culture is and how it can be derived from or aligned to the business strategy of the organization. And that I realized is such a big gap because in absence of a framework, of course, you invite people to figure out on their own as to what it means for them. So I saw a great opportunity there for the organizations to really build their culture in line with their business strategy and not look at culture as a fluffy thing or a thing coming from the past, but make it really concrete and future focused. Really make it something that will effectively help them execute their business strategy.
Love that. So, Sudhir, can you walk us through here how ProOrgs and its offer has evolved? So, from what you provide and who you serve, how's that changed since you first started ProOrgs?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think most of the entrepreneurs are very passionate about what they do. And I was similarly very, very excited. And to start with, I tried to boil the ocean and do a lot, right? So I thought about organizational culture, how it aligns with the business strategy, and then how it cascades down into people processes and a lot of other things, right? And that started appearing a bit too much to handle, right? So I kind of started narrowing down my scope and got more focused on really defining that framework well. And I knew that other things will follow. So really spent a lot of time in making that framework as thorough as possible and also very usable because one of the things that I don't want to do is keep it in a consulting format because consulting format comes with its own challenges when it comes to scalability, right? No matter how large an organization I build, but still it will still be dependent on a handful of people. So the framework had to be um, not just robust, but also scalable, where it could be productized and organizations and executives and the HR teams out there are able to use it on their own to a great extent.
So talk to us a little bit here, Sudhir, about a misconception with that as far as the organizational culture and consulting industry go, especially around its value to businesses or its scalability as a business, a misconception there that you'd like to address.
Absolutely. Great question. So there are a few actually. I'll talk of two or three primary ones here. So one is, as I said, culture is seen as something which is fluffy, and a lot of times things that are being talked about when looking at culture are things like psychological safety and DEI, civility, and so on. While these things are important and required for any organization to do well, but they are the basics and generic. Every organization needs them. What makes the organization unique is the culture that is required for them to execute their business strategy, right? And when that needs to happen, you need to start with putting your business strategy upfront, right? And you start deriving your culture from there. So just to give you an example, based on your business strategy, you could either have an innovation-centric culture or you could have a market-centric culture. You might want your teams or your people to behave like a family or like a community or like a team, right? So all these things come from your business strategy and therefore become unique and specific to your organization. The other big misconception about culture is that it comes from the past, right? So the kind of organization that you have been has led to a certain kind of culture getting built in your organization, which is valid. I'm not saying that that won't happen. Of course, when you are not intentional, that is how it's going to happen. But when you're intentional, you can actually make your culture future focused and really look at what are the kind of behaviors that you need in the organization for you to succeed in your business strategy execution. Last but not the least, in many cases, I would say almost all cases, the culture kind of cascades from the founder or from the key executives in the organization. So their values become the values of the organization. Now, in a way, that's okay, but their values might or might not always be supportive of the business strategy. And that at times leads to a lot of chaos and confusion in the organization because people are doing things in a way or behaving in a way which makes the founders or the executives happy, but might not really be helping the business strategy move forward.
That definitely makes sense there. So, I mean, Sudhir, I would love to get into the nuts and bolts. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into this space, into this world, and what you're doing. So, how exactly is ProOrgs generating revenue today? So, what's the core offer there? Whether that be, I know you have the culture harmonization, the executive coaching, and how is that structured for your clients right now?
Yeah, so as of now, we are it's still in the phase of testing the framework. So we are working with client partners. So these are, of course, paying clients. But of course, there's an agreement that it's a two-way street, right? So while they are paying for the value that they are getting, but we also get a lot of feedback from them in terms of how some certain things in the framework are working for them or not. So we are not really totally focused on revenue right now. So the whole idea is to make sure that this framework is robust, as I said, is scalable, and it's something that the organizations can use on their own. We just released our version 2 based on the initial feedback that we received from our client partners. And with version 2, now we are getting into productizing the entire thing, which will lead to the revenue generation phase. So we are now working with some technology partners to really, weave this entire framework into a platform using a lot of AI and so on to really make it consumable and effective for our clients.
Gotcha. So is that coaching aspect, is that completely out of what you're doing, or is that also intertwined into what you're doing as far as the offer goes?
Yeah, so there are two elements. So coaching is something that comes in later. So once you have defined your culture and you start operating based on that, of course, you cannot be perfect. There will be gaps. And that is where the coaching piece comes in. So the coaching, I don't think can ever get productized, while I know there are companies out there who are trying to do it. But coaching is something, to me, it's very individual experience. And that piece will always remain the service component in our model.
Absolutely. So with that, piggybacking off what you said, I know you said you're still kind of building the framework and getting a feel for that. So is there any client acquisition right now, or are you just working with those few partners and then you're going to start kind of trying to push out ads and get some referrals for clients? Are you having, anything come in as far as qualified leads go for you?
Yeah, so with version 2 now in place, our client acquisition process will begin. We are just waiting for the tech to be in place. So it might take another couple of months to get there. And we are already starting to talk to the prospective clients, giving them a sneak preview into what the product might look like and so on, and how they can use it for their benefit. So we are getting there. We are starting to create a funnel. And we are essentially looking for organizations less than 500 people to start with, while we know that our framework and our product will be applicable to any size or any scale of the organizations. But for now, to start with, we are focusing on small and mid-sized companies.
Completely get that there. So once you get a client through the door, Sudhir, walk us through what your sales process looks like from initial contact to signing a deal with them. Is it something that you're dealing with from start to finish? Do you have a team in place, a sales team? What does the overall view look like for ProOrgs?
Yeah, so our sales process is a little different because it requires a lot of education, right? Or rather, I would say it requires a lot of unlearning to be done,
Right.
right? So it's a kind of an extended sales process. So there is first part, which is more focused around educating the client on what culture is or what culture is not, and what are some of the things that they need to look into when they are investing in culture, right? So that phase is kind of a lot of training that is involved. So we, for example, conduct both free and paid workshops for our clients. And once they are on the same page, that is where the next part of the sales process kicks in, which is now talking about how we can deploy the framework and the product in their organization, right? As of now, we are working with an external partner. We don't have our own sales team. The good thing about them is that they work just like my own sales team. So they have spent a lot of time understanding what we are trying to do, and have built substantial knowledge around the framework and can really talk that language with the customer. So they are the ones who are helping us get in touch with the prospective customers and build the funnel for us.
Beautiful, beautiful. So at the moment, what can you point to, Sudhir, with that, obviously, with kind of everything that you're doing right now, phase 2, you're outsourcing sales. What's the biggest bottleneck to growth for ProOrgs? Is it lead generation, converting those inquiries into clients? Is it delivering the services with your current capacity? What can you really point to on that front?
Yeah, the challenges are not internal, to be honest. We don't have any challenges. We can grow and scale as much as we want. Uh, Challenges on the organization side. So there is 70 years of misplaced knowledge that we need to help them unlearn. And that is the biggest challenge that we face in our business, right? So when we get in to any organization, start talking to their CEO or CHRO, typically we get to hear, oh, we know everything about culture, right? We don't need to know anything new, right? Second is, oh, there are umpteen culture consultants out there, so what's different about you? And so on. So that is the biggest challenge that we are facing right now. However, we also realize that once we have the critical mass and we are over that tipping point, and there are n number of organizations out there who have already deployed our model and are gaining from that, I know the other organizations will be more ready to accept the new framework.
Once that trickle effect starts to happen.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, with that being said, what do you see as your top priorities for ProOrgs and growing ProOrgs over the next 6 to 12 months? Where are you really focusing in?
Yeah, really focusing on technology piece, because as I said, productizing it will help us take it to markets faster.
Right.
So it doesn't only depend on me and my small team, or I should say small and mighty team. Then it really could become like a SaaS model where people can actually come to our website and buy it off the shelf and deploy it. And as I said, later, once they figure out that there are gaps in their organization, they can still use our services to coach their executives on those things and so on. So that's a big piece that we are working on as far as scalability is concerned. The other thing that we are doing is we are launching a certification program for people in human resources function and also other executives for them to learn the model. All right. So that way it does two things. One is it helps them getting educated about this entire framework. Two, it does build that capacity and capability within the organization to really deploy the model whenever they are ready.
Beautiful. So as far as, is there anything goal-wise that you have as far as like specific revenue targets for the year, anything on that front? Or are you really just focused on kind of building the machine first?
Yeah, in terms of target, we are targeting having 25 paid customers by end of this year. So that's what we are targeting. As I said, once we cross that number, we can really start focusing on bigger numbers, and we can start building our team internally to sell more. And other thing, as I said, most of the clients will be able to buy it off the shelf from our website. So that will also help.
Beautiful, beautiful. So if you had a genie right now, Sudhir, you could snap your fingers and you had unlimited resources, what is something that you're implementing immediately for ProOrgs growth?
As I said, most of our challenges are external, to be honest. So if I had a genie, I would just ask them to make everybody in the corporate world forget about everything that they know about culture so far, so that I have a clean slate and I don't have to put all the efforts around making them unlearn. So.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So with that, I want to kind of go right into our closing. I mean, it's incredible what you're doing. It's clear as day that ProOrgs is going to really be a game changer for businesses. And once things really get up and running for you, I mean, I think the sky's the limit here. So with that, what is a tool or a resource, Sudhir, that you're using right now? Maybe it's a strategy from your past roles, or it's a coaching technique, but what's something that's just been a game changer for ProOrgs to this point for you?
Yeah, my coaching skills really come in handy, no doubt about it, because talking to the executives, talking to CHROs, asking them a lot of questions, that really helps them look beyond what they already know. So that is a big tool, no doubt. The other thing is AI coming in has been a big help because the model in itself is simple, but the nuts and bolts of the model are pretty complicated, right? And it was in the past very difficult for me to really transfer all that knowledge to the client. So AI has really helped me to structure some of that in a manner that it can be productized very easily. So it has been a really big blessing in disguise.
Amazing. And then one more question here for you, Sudhir, just to round us out today. And that is, what is one piece of advice that you could give founders just starting out, our listeners right now, other founders, entrepreneurs who are starting out in the space and creating their own business? What's something you can offer them before we close out?
Yeah, good question. There are a lot of things I actually want to say, but I will restrict myself to pointing out one. Um, don't get into business to make money. That will happen eventually. Get into business because you are passionate about a problem that needs to be solved. And it's not your perception, but it's a real issue out there, right? If you are working on something like that, success is bound to happen and money will come in sooner or later. So that's my advice to the entrepreneurs who are getting into business. Be very focused on what you're passionate about. Know what's the why behind the what. Start with why, as Simon Sinek says, always start with the why.
I love it. I love it. Well, with that there, that does wrap up another inspiring episode here of Founders Future. Just want to thank you again, Sudhir. I mean, an incredible journey, and sharing those insights with us today are truly incredible, truly amazing. I mean, I know you're going to do some big things with ProOrgs, and I'm excited to follow your journey and see how far you take it. And to our listeners, if you did enjoy this episode, which I know many of you have, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find more resources and insights at closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class marketing systems. Until then, keep climbing, and we'll see you on the next one.